Hey everyone, Paul ISM, welcome to another video. Today we're going to be having a look at the UMP Apex airbrush, how to take it apart, right down to its bare components, how to clean it properly, and how to reassemble it as well. So before we get going today, have a quick watch of this video. So make sure you subscribe to the channel, make sure you click the little bell notifications, get notified of all our latest videos, click the like button and leave a comment. I do read and reply to all the comments and appreciate everybody that takes the time to leave a comment on the channel. And of course, if you scroll up in the description, there's a link to a big long list of all the items I use in my videos. So if you see anything, you should be able to find it in there. So on last Sunday's live show, John Stone, good friend of mine, had a problem with his airbrush. He jumped on, we helped him fix it, and Bob's your uncle, it was sorted for him. And it got me thinking, and a few people have asked for it, of a more in-depth video on taking the Apex to bits, cleaning it properly, putting it all back together and setting it up. So here it is today. Not going to be a short video. I think it's going to be at least 45-50 minutes long. Hopefully cover all the aspects required to help you out there. Now, one thing I will say from past experience, when we've had problems with the airbrushes, which we've never really had any problems with them, the airbrush isn't clean. 95% of the time, the problem is the airbrush isn't properly cleaned. I've proven this before on the live show once. So if you're having issues, have a look at my guide. You don't need to take it down as far as I show in this video. I've shown elements here just to cover all the bases in case you have a long shot problem that will help you fix. Like I say, we sell all the spares at UMP Retail, and while it's a very basic airbrush, it's very rugged, robust and easy to clean. Made for us by Badger, and in my eyes it's one of the best airbrushes out there for simplicity, cost. As you all know, I had anything and everything from £100 Harder Steenbecks to nearly £400 Iwaters, and I don't own a single one of those anymore. All I have is 5 UMP Apex, which I use for clear coat, UMP primer, lacquers, lacquer fine work and metallics, and I keep all those paints away from each other because you don't want metallic particles in your primer or your clear coats or your colour. UMP primer, you don't want to contaminate with lacquers, you don't want to contaminate your clear coat with colours, and that's why I have them all separate. They're all there for a reason. And as I say in the video, I look at an airbrush as, while it's a fairly expensive modelling tool, it's a modelling tool. It's no different to a pair of tweezers or a sanding stick, or if you're a tradesman, it's no different to a hammer or a screwdriver. It's a tool to do a job. So whilst they are taken care of, they're not lovingly, adored by me. Is that the right word? Probably not, no. But they're a tool. They're there to use. So don't be afraid to use them. But if you have any problems, you can always contact me or Lee at umpretail.com. And if you have any trouble, watch this video. You can go back, rewatch it, skip forward bits, whatever you want to do. Have a look, and if you've got any questions, pop them in the comments down below, and I'll try and answer them as we go. Okay, so the Ultimate Modelling Products Apex Airbrush. By definition, it is a very simple, robust, rugged, easy to clean airbrush, easy to use, and very, very easy to maintain and clean. It is astounding. I've had many airbrushes over the years, from high end to low end, and all I use is these. I have 5 of these that I use for all different purposes, and they are fantastic. Yes, it's one of my products, our products at UMP. Even I was surprised how good it was and easy to use and versatile this thing actually is. It's a great all-round airbrush, and I really can't recommend it enough. People who've got it know how good it is, and if you're thinking of getting one, don't think about it, just get one. You'll be very happy with it, and it will literally make airbrushing more pleasurable for you. So, what's in here? So you get your case, you get your instruction book, you get the airbrush itself with the needle nozzle spanner on there as well. You get a needle nozzle cap and a plastic colour cup in there as standard. It's a double action airbrush, 0.35mm needle nozzle as standard, 1/8 air valve on it, a nice little finger rest guard on there, and it's adjustable as well. You can adjust the tension on the trigger by rolling this barrel in and out, so all the way back will make this very easy to pull back, and all the way forward will make it a lot harder to do. So you can set that up for yourself. I generally have mine back and then forward a couple of mil or 1 or 2 mil, and away you go. This will fit straight onto your quick release, no problem at all. Just screw straight on or directly onto your hose, and away you go. So that's it. That's a basic overview of the brush. Like I say, in there you do get an instruction book as well, which does cover the basic outlines of the airbrush, basic operation and usage as well, including some tips and tricks along the way. But I'm going to show you today how I completely strip this airbrush down. I'm not saying you have to do this, I'm just showing you how you can if you ever need to, and how to clean it as well, reassemble it and set it up too. So have a good look through your instruction book. On the back page is an exploded diagram and all the parts are in there, and we do carry all the spare parts at umpretail.com. So if you need anything at all, pop over and you can buy it directly from us. So that's in a brand spanking new one that's destined to go to a customer today. All these airbrushes are personally checked, set up, lubed by myself. I've done over 700 now. I know this thing back to front, and they are all personally set up, lubed and checked by me. So if you have any problems at all, please let us know. We've had very few problems over the years. I will almost guarantee 95% of the time, any problems you have with an airbrush, it's dirty. That will be the problem. It's dirty, and the rest of it, 1% might be a fault in the airbrush, the other 4 is improper use. So you haven't put it back together properly, etc, etc. But I put money on it. The amount of times people have messaged me saying, this isn't working, is it clean? Yes, it's clean. I even had one sent to me that I did on a Sunday live show that was supposedly clean, and it was disgustingly filthy. It was absolutely full of paint, and after 2 hours of cleaning, it was like new again. So maintenance is key, and that's what I am going to show you now. So this is up to one lucky person today. Hope you enjoy your new purchase. So this is one of my oldest Apexes. I reckon this thing is about, when do we start selling these? It's going to be at least 4 years old. It is showing war, wounds and signs. You see it's worn away in places, it's scratched, it's damaged. Look inside though, other than a little remnants of probably spilled paint from other airbrushes, it's clean. Got rid of spilled paint on the finger guard. Like I say, this is probably 4 years old. It has painted hundreds and hundreds of models. This is my primer one, hence the label on the barrel at the back. So this gets used really just with UMP primer, and that is one of the thickest paints you'll put through one of these probably. It's 0.35. This is completely standard, other than a different trigger that I've got on the top, slightly different one. I only like it because of the ridged edge on it, and this is it. That's it. It's got the quick release on it, and other than my label and that trigger, it's completely out of the box. Now, I purposely, these haven't been cleaned. I don't strip these regularly. To me, these are a tool. It's a tool. It's no different from when I was plumbing. I used to be a plumber. No different to a spanner or a hammer or a screwdriver. It's a tool to do a job. Whilst it's taken care of, it's not coveted or, mollycoddled, etc. It's cleaned, put away, and even though this thing is going to be dirty now, I guarantee we're going to get some black primer out of this. I'll put money on it. It still works perfectly. So whilst it may not be immaculately clean, it's clean enough to use. And as long as it works, I'm happy. I've got more important things to do than be stripping all these airbrushes down every 5 minutes to meticulously clean them. It might sound wrong, but for me, as long as they work, I'm more than happy. And it shows the sheer workhorse nature of this airbrush, because I know this will be dirty. It's still functioning. There's no, trigger stop or slop or anything. It will put paint through it, no bother at all. So we're going to strip this out. I'm going to take it completely to bits. There is only one part I'm not going to take out of there, and I'll explain why in a bit. But that's what we're going to do. Tools. What have we got? Right, we got Ultimate Airbrush Cleaner, which I have decanted in a smaller, easy to use bottle. We've got some lacquer thinner, which is a last resort for me. This stuff gives me horrendous headaches. I absolutely hate the smell of it. We've got Red Stab Badger Lube, because as you know, these airbrushes are produced for us by Badger. We have some tweezers, some normal cotton buds, some of the Mist Hobby Tamiya pointed cotton swabs as well. We have a Allen key, which takes off the finger guard. At the top of my head, this is 5/8 of an inch. It's Imperial. That's the size of the grub score on this, so you will need one of these. The chances of ever having to take this off is very slim, but I'm going to show you how to do it. And an assortment of cleaning brushes. Now, I've had these two. Where's it gone? Which are the fairly new ones? There you go. I've had those two for about a year and a half now, and they're still like new. That one probably about 5 years, and that one right there, although it looks absolutely battered, I've had that for 10 years and it's still going strong. These are the hardest Steenbeck ones. They're a bit of a pain to find in the UK. We sell the Tamiya ones at U&P. They work really well as well, but literally I've got these and they do the job, so there's no point in getting anything else. And then just a standard old knackered brush. This thing is blowing to hell, as you can see, but it's ideal for getting in there and cleaning the airbrush. We've also got some dental paper points. These are absorbent paper points from Gappy Dent. So varying sizes of them. I've had these for God knows how long. I've run out of 2 of them, but there's still enough of all these left. And these are very, very fine compressed paper points that you can get right into your needle nozzle and clean it out perfectly. So that is that. Let's see, we've got tweezers, we've got some kitchen paper. I also have a whole, zoom in, I want to zoom out, a whole cleaning kit here. I've got spare needles, some spare parts, tools in here. This is primarily set up for Iwata because I used to have Iwata. It's an expensive cleaning set. It's about £70. You don't get all this in there. A lot of this is mine. And my pliers, my soft jaw pliers, snapped the other day, and I had to get some replacements. These you will also need for getting the air valve off. Again, you should never need to, but again, I'll still show you how to do it today. So that's it. Simple tools, not a lot really to maintain the airbrush. You also have the needle nozzle, but the way these are set up is mine are finger tight. You don't need to tighten it. Finger tight is just fine. So once you initially get it all set up, you won't need to take the spanner to that again. I never tighten it up at all. So this assembly, I'm going to zoom in a touch for you. Hopefully we keep you in. So I know these inside out. I can do this with my eyes closed. So I'll try and slow it down a bit for you. So bear with me if I go a little bit too fast. So first of all, we'll take the front needle nozzle cap off. We've got the needle nozzle itself. You can already see black paint on my needle, showing it isn't clean. This also unscrews. They're a bit tricky to get off though. So we chuck things around. So these are parts that should never ever need to come off. And yet I'm going to attempt to do it today. Right, we'll let that soak in a bit of thinner in a bit. But there's 3 components here. You've got this one, and this one. Again, there's no need to ever take that apart. Ever really. But what we'll do is we'll get a little medicine cup. And what we will do is pop a little bit of lacquer thinner in there. And we'll drop any parts in there. We've got our needle nozzle as well. And we'll let them sit and soak in there for a little bit. We've got the rear of the airbrush. That lacquer thinner absolutely stinks. The chuck at the back, which comes off. Needle at the front. As you can see, there's plenty of paint on there. Like I say, I purposefully haven't cleaned it for quite a while. And the last time I airbrushed, I purposely kind of didn't go to town clean it, so we had something to clean. So you can see paint on the needle there as well. We've got an O-ring at the front, which is always a little bit tricky to get off. Might need some pliers. But this O-ring really is just cosmetic. So pop that off. There you go. Pop that to one side there. We've then got the trigger, which will come out once the needle's out. We've got the barrel at the back. This is what allows you to tension up your trigger. So that out that comes. So that's that part. You've got a spring in there as well. I'm going to try and zoom in. I'm trying to keep everything clear. You've got your trigger assembly there with the rocker on it as well. And we've got a quick release. And that is basically the airbrush to bits. You should never need to go any further than that, ever. Now, there's 2 things. Number 1, the air valve. That you need some soft jaw pliers like these. These are Draper ones from Amazon. They're about £20, and you just grip it, turn, and away you go, like so. That's a very, very fine and small thread at the end, so be very, very careful with it when you get near the end. And there you go, there's your air valve. And then you have your trigger guard, which takes the 5/8 Allen key. There we go, we don't need to unscrew it all the way. We twist that, off it comes, and there we go. Now, there are a couple of components. I need a screwdriver for one. So, first of all, in there, right down there, is the needle seal. Now, do not ever touch that, because this is the new part, because if you take it out, you'll need a new part. It seats itself, and it never goes in again correct. So this is the part we sell at UMP. It's T813. As you can see, it's a brass barrel piece with a slotted screwdriver in, with the PTFE needle seal at the front. It self-seats. Once it's in there, if you take it back out, in my experience, it will never go back in right. So that on this is the one part I would never ever take to bits. Leave that alone. We'll clean all this in a bit. Inside the air valve, which mine is absolutely disgusting. This is one part that people have had a bit of trouble with in the past. Even when you're painting and you spill a bit of paint or a bit of lacquer thinner and it goes behind the trigger down there, it will end up on the top of here. Now there is an O-ring in here, a rubber O-ring, because no paint should get in here. Rubber O-rings don't like lacquer thinner and they swell. So what happens is, when you're calling for air by pressing down, because the lacquer thinner has swelled the O-ring, it stops this from functioning properly and either stays up or it stays down and keeps the air going. So number one, don't ever drop lacquer thinner down there if you can help it. Try and keep it clear. If you do, now, it's not something I recommend, but it does work. Drop a couple of drops of UMP Airbrush Cleaner in there, and in my experience, it neutralises the lacquer thinner, and it will return. It will return to functionality over a day or so as the lacquer evaporates, and the O-ring swells back. But again, this is one of those problems a lot of people report, and it's user error, sadly. So in here, there is a little brass bushing. It's a flathead. Again, you should never ever need to take this to bits. And in here we have a little brass screw. There's a little spring, a little brass plunger with an O-ring, and that is the O-ring that swells if you get lacquer thinner in there. So that is that. So that is the entire airbrush stripped apart. We've got the 3 parts on there to still get, but we'll get to those later. They don't really need to come apart anyway, to be honest. What we're going to do now is we're going to clean everything up, put it all back together, and I'll show you how to set it all up. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a little bit of UMP cleaner in one of these medicine cups. If you use these medicine cups, you can pick them up on Amazon. Make sure they are medical grade, because otherwise they don't like lacquer thinner, and you'll end up with a pool of lacquer thinner on your bench, or a melted pot on your bench. It's not great. So we're just going to clean everything up. We're just going to use UMP Airbrush Cleaner to start with, because we're going to use the less abrasive cleaner we can. And then if we find we get anything that won't quite come off, we'll go to the lacquer thinner. Because while that stuff absolutely stinks, it does really remove things almost instantaneously. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to grab one of our brushes, this one, drop it in there. We're going to give all these threads a clean up. Toothbrush is a very good tool for doing this. Don't have one to hand, unfortunately, but this will do more than adequate of a job. You can see the muck coming off already, and that is just paint that's accumulated, dust, overspray, anything and everything that has come through there. What we're going to make sure is now we're not knocking parts everywhere, because I am. Let's pull those back there a bit. So like I say, I'm not saying you need to do this. This is just a guide for if you have any problems. I'm going to grab a little bit of lacquer thinner just to get that top part nice and clean. There we go. And we'll just give that a quick go over as well. Like I say, it's not the most interesting videos to watch, but at least if you have any trouble, you can sit here, watch me assemble it, put it back together, and away we go. And then one of these pointed cotton buds we can get right in here and clean everything out. So basically, this is the air valve. This is where everything your compressor puts through goes through here. So you are going to get dirty. You know, there are filters, but you are still going to get dirt making its way through. Now with this, like I say, do not touch this with lacquer thinner. UMP Airbrush Cleaner is there in the pot. I'm just going to wipe over the edge, like so. Once we're happy we've got it all off, which we are, we'll give it a wipe. Here we are. So finally go over it, we'll go over the lacquer again. I don't think it's going to remove any more than the Airbrush Cleaner did, but we'll go over it anyway. I'm trying to keep you all in shot too. And there we go. And then with UMP Airbrush Cleaner, we will just go over the O-ring lightly. We don't want to damage the O-ring at all. So there we go, and that is that. So that can go back in there. You want to drop that in so that it pokes through the top there. We then grab our spring, which we're just going to roll in where we had cleaner to get the remnants of muck off it. Drop it in, and then we'll grab our barrel, which isn't even dirty in the slightest. Drop it in. We're going to go counterclockwise till we feel a little click as it drops in place. There it is. No, it's not. There we go. See, my screwdriver's bent. This screwdriver has a story. Or I'll explain this in a minute. There we go. And there we go. One fully operating air valve. Doesn't need any lube in there. Nothing at all. Just leave it as is. And away we go. So this screwdriver was my dad's. From over 20, probably 24 years ago, we bought a full set of these Barco screwdrivers. Brand spanking new set of screwdrivers. My dad never bought decent tools. Brand new out the pack. He tried to open a water gully with it and bent it instantly. And it's the one tool I keep in the house of his because it's useful. I could bend it back straight, but I always keep it bent. So you might see this in videos and think, why has he got a bent screwdriver? It's just an old tool my dad's, well, it means a little bit something to me. So quite a nice little thing to keep. But yeah, it is bent, but it always makes me laugh because it reminds me of that day. Anyway, silly story, but anyway. Right, so that's that. We'll leave the bigger parts. We'll come to these parts first. This is the barrel at the back for the trigger housing. Again, we're going to grab some UMP cleaner. There should be nothing really to clean on this because you shouldn't get any paint on here at all. But I still find, put your cotton bud through, just clean the barrels out. And then the same at the back. And then a quick wipe over. Like I said, the last time I did this airbrush, it's got to be 4 months ago easily, if not longer. I can't remember. Simple as that. Once these parts are cleaned, they go over to one side. We then grab another one, and with this we will grab a brush. Just go over it with this. So the closer you get to the front of the airbrush, the more chance you've got of getting contamination of dirt and paint residue and what have you, because you're getting nearer the working part of the brush. Very careful to this part, it's very easy to break and bend. We had John Stone on Sunday's show. His airbrush wasn't working. He'd actually managed to bend this so it wasn't seating properly. But a quick 5-minute chat on the show and he was sorted. There's that done. We've got the spring. Again, there's nothing really to clean, so what I do, I just roll it where I've had the remnants of cleaner. Job done. So there's that. We've got our trigger as well. Now I'm just picking parts at random. We'll get to the bigger parts in a bit. So with the trigger, get your brush in all around. Now, what you use the airbrush for will dictate what you clean it with. Because we're using this with UMP primer, we can clean it with UMP Airbrush Cleaner because that's made for water-based and alcohol-based paints. If you're using anything like lacquer, you're going to have to use lacquer thinner purely and simply because of the nature of the paint, which is why I'm showing both in use here. Neither will damage the airbrush. It's just whether you can stand the smell. Like I say, lacquer thinner, I can smell that over there. Gives me horrendous headaches. In fact, I'm going to move that away a touch because it's annoying me now. And what we're going to do is just give this a good clean up around everywhere. Dry it off. So that's that done. Trigger barrel. Nothing really on here to clean. So I just give the threads a wipe around, as you can see. Remnants of paint in there. Keeps the threads clear. We know that's fine. Got the main airbrush, we've got our needle chuck. Again, we'll just grab all the pointed cotton buds, bit of UMP cleaner. Just clean up the end. We'll get paint off the back. I'll put money off that. There you go, told you. And inside to clean all the threads. Like so. Got the O-ring. Now this is one of the consumable parts of the airbrush. You will go through these. Because it's at the front, it's there as more of a decorative seal, not really a seal as such on the front of the airbrush. It is going to get paint on it, lacquer paint. And whilst the airbrush itself is fine for lacquer paint, rubber O-rings aren't. So this is one part that you may find cracks, or if you're me, I lose them all the time. I'll take them off when I'm cleaning the brush and then drop them and never find them again. But they're nice and simple to fix, clean. Needle itself is really easy to clean, but you just got to be careful. We'll drop a little bit of cleaner on there. And then all we'll do is drag it back gently. Like so. Once we've got the majority off, we'll come with a cotton bud and the brush. This paint's been on here for a long time. I can feel that. It's been on there for ages. So what we'll do is speed things up. A little bit of lacquer thinner. Pop it down. Pull it back. Keep the needle point away from the paper. And when you're happy, there we go. Nice and clean. Right, last few parts. Now we're going to have to use lacquer thinner because I know this is lacquer paint on here. Because it is TS41 Coral Blue that we're using on the Impala. So I've obviously spilt a bit on the trigger finger housing. Rest, sorry. A little bit of lacquer thinner all over. And we'll get inside it a bit as well. Like I said, by the nature of these things, they are tools. They are going to pick up paint and dirt. It's what they are. They're a tool. Hopefully you don't go out and polish your hammers and your screwdrivers, because I never did. But maintaining them is a different thing, and this is where the time is well spent. This is going to be a short video, sadly, but everybody asked for it. This is a thorough look through. There we go. There's our trigger housing done. And then the biggest part to clean, which is the actual airbrush itself. So we'll start on the outside. We'll get the outside and then go straight for lacquer thinner for speed. I'm just going to clean the threads on the front, all around the colour cup. Because this hasn't been cleaned, this paint's been here for a long time. So it's accumulated for a while. We've got our brush in there. It's a damaged brush. It doesn't matter if we do that to it. I don't really care. It works just fine. And then we'll get this in to all the colour cup. We've got a cotton bud. So UMP cleaner will do just fine now. Get right down to the bottom of the cup. Job done. You can see we got a little bit of muck out of there into the top of the trigger house, and just push your cotton bud through and wipe it back and forth, and then finally and gently into there where the needle goes through into the needle seal. We'll wipe it and we'll just give all inside that barrel a quick go over it. It will be dirty. Not too bad actually. Not too bad. And then finally where the the air valve sits, we'll just give her all the clean up. Make sure it's all nice and clean. And then we will give the exterior a good go over. So like I say, you do not need to do this all the time. You should never have to take this thing so far apart as this. So right here you have a video, you can fast forward, you can come back to bits. If you're not sure how something fits, you can freeze it, you can look, you can rewind, rewatch. This is what this is for. This is for you out there to be able to do what you need. Now, once the exterior is clean, we'll grab one of our brushes. We'll have this one. Now, the idea of this double one is that it goes through the front and into the back at the same time. So it's a very useful brush. So you can get right behind there. Look at that, you see, paint. Told you it was going to be dirty, didn't I? I told you she would be. All that is, it's the accumulation of paint that sits behind the needle where you can't quite get to clean when you're actually doing your end of day cleanup of the airbrush. So it just shows you how much gets left behind when you think your airbrush is spotless, and it actually isn't. There we go. Now we'll grab a cotton bud, get all the pointed ones. We've got the majority in. Let's get in here and get all the rest. There we go. It should get, oh, spill everything. It should get less and less now. There we are. Let's get a normal bud in the front and in the back. And what we'll do is we'll give it a quick rinse through. We'll rinse off our brush again. And there we go, we're getting there now. So that's an accumulation of paint for months. Absolutely months. And even though there was paint on the needle and there's paint in the airbrush, it still functions perfectly. Not an issue at all. These cotton buds, you can get others that are more like a beauty one, but they're not as tightly wound. So in my experience, they're not as good at cleaning because rather than getting into the areas you want, they start to bend and fold and what have you. Once you've done that, get the thicker brush that hasn't got the smaller tip on it, get right in the end and give all the end of the airbrush a good clean. Like so. And as you can see, we're pretty clean now. We give it one last little bit of a rinse out. Give it a wipe over. Job done. A wipe in the colour cup. And there we go. Spotless. So, last two components are our needle nozzle. Always tricky to get out. I've got the wrong tweezers, which doesn't help. I need my decal ones. Make sure you wipe these off where you decal again, otherwise it'll melt your decals. There we go. So for this, we have our brush again. We have our thin one, which will fit straight in there. No pressure, you do not want to damage this end. As you can see, not too bad actually. Not all that bad. So it shows you the maintenance is working. And just get all around the inner wall of that needle nozzle. Like so. We are getting a bit of paint, but not a huge amount. We can grab one of these again. Again, these aren't the cheapest, but for this job, invaluable. Now hopefully this will come out pretty clean. That's not bad at all. I'm going to use this nice clean one for the end bit. We give the outside a wipe. Now, that looks perfectly clean to me. You can see right through there. What we'll do is we'll grab one of these paper points and I'll show you one of these in use. So obviously I'm running out of the big ones, so we're using the smaller ones. So as you can see, very, very point, very tightly wound paper. Pop it through gently. It comes through. What I like to do is pull it through to the stops, hold it, and spin, and then we can push it back, like so, and it's spotless. Absolutely spotless. So the brush does the job perfectly. No problem at all. Now, is this going to come apart now? Again, it's a part that never needs taking apart, but there you go. There's that one. So this has been sat in lacquer thinner, so anything that's been on there, it will have loosened up, and that is that spotless. Inside, we will grab a cotton bud again, and in there you can see all the airways. So they lead through to this part. This one's going to be a pig to get off, because it always is, and again, oh, there we go. You should never need to take this off, but that is it. So there's that part. You see where we have paint in there? So again, if you start having issues, things not working, this is when you'll need a complete disassembly, but you shouldn't really have to do that. But if you do, you can see how to do it now. Get yourself some of those soft jaw pliers and be very, very careful that you keep any nasties away from the actual working parts of the brush. How many more times am I going to knock that cup over? Loads. What we're doing now is clean up all the threads inside, clean up any remnants, clean up the end. Perfect. We've got this part which I've already cleaned, but we will grab a bit of UMP cleaner off the bench since we've spilt most of it there. We do have a little bit of paint in here, as you can see. So there must have been a spillage at some point that has to manage to work its way through, but even so, all still working fine. These are all kept in my booth. They're in one of the UMP holders. Other paintbrushes and airbrushes do get passed over, and I do occasionally spill paint in them, as I showed you in that one before. There we go. And one last part to clean. Where's the brush? There we go. This is the needle cap. So again, we'll just pop that in there, like so. We'll grab a cotton bud. This part's always easy to clean when it's all assembled. We just run it around the top. And there we go. Job done. Everything cleaned up. I'm going to have a very quick tidy up and move some of this malarkey off my bench, and we'll come back and put it all back together. Right then, we're tidied up a bit. These are all the components here for the airbrush. As you can see, they're all here. Everything is cleaned as we just did. It's exactly how we left it last time. What we're going to do, we're going to reassemble. So we'll put our trigger housing on first. I kick up the trigger housing, it's a thumb rest. And we'll tighten it up. Don't go mad. Just to feel a little bit of pressure, like that. And there we go. And then we've got our air valve as well, which is functioning absolutely perfectly. As you can see, no obstructions in there. Now, be very careful with this. It's a very, very fine thread. Any resistance, stop, take it off, make sure it's clean, and screw it on. Gently, gently. Do it as tight as you can by hand. Then we'll grab our soft jaw pliers. And be very careful doing this. We've got a bit of pressure on the pliers, not a lot. As soon as it stops. Sorry about that, the battery died on the camera just as I was tightening this up. So like I say, screw it on. When you feel any resistance, stop. Just give it a little tighten up like that. And there we go. Perfect. And then we'll pop our quick release on for safekeeping. There we go, that is that on. We'll then pop on our O-ring, pop in our needle nozzle, pop on our needle cap, well, nozzle holder, pop that in, pop on the front in the piece in front rather, like so. Then the needle guard, which does spin both ways on the apex. You can have it that way, or you can spin it around and have the needle exposed, like so, but you've got to be careful you don't damage your needle then, so I always have it the other way. See, it screwed on first time perfectly, second time I come back, I can't get it to screw on. There we go. Job done. We will then pop in our trigger, test the functionality of our air valve. Just working perfect. We then have our trigger rocker assembly there. So we angle that piece forward. So push it up at the bottom so that goes forward. Feed it through so it sticks at the top. drop it in, lay it down, we then grab our spring, which has vanished. 2 seconds, it's here somewhere. Where on earth have you gone? There you are. We pop that in, we get the barrel. Pop that in. Now this is another part that incorrectly assembled, as we found it the other day. Again with our buddy John. It won't work properly. So you pop it in, screw it down, keep checking that it works, and just screw it in past until that works like that. Then grab our needle chuck, pop that on, the needle itself, all the way through gently. It should pass through nice and smooth. Now you can pop some lube on now if you want. I will put it there and in there. I don't tend to lube my airbrushes anymore. I haven't for a while. I don't think they need it on these, to be honest. But if you like a nice smooth action airbrush, that's the way to go. And they all come new like that. I do lube every one. Pop it in, slide the needle all the way forward till you feel it stop. No pressure. Tighten the chuck up. And then I will back that up to a mil or two away from the back. We can then pop our front on. And there we go. One nice, smooth, easy to use airbrush. What we'll do now is we will pop a little bit of cleaner in. As you can see, I'm going to grab my air hose, which is all the way over here. Bear with me. Pop it in. And what we're going to do on the first blow through, we're going to backflow it and tip away the cleaner, because there might be still remnants of dirt or whatever in here. It doesn't damage the airbrush at all, contrary to what anyone tells you at all. It is fine. So all we do, we put the tissue over the end, backflow in it. See, there is a little bit of muck in there, as you can see there. That is why we backflow it. So if you get a little bit, do it again. That'll be where we clean everywhere, and there's maybe a couple of remnants left behind. There are a few more there, and we give everywhere a wipe, and that should be absolutely spotless in there now. Perfect. And then we'll pop a bit through, spray it onto the cloth. Works perfect. And there we go. We are ready to go for a good few months. Like I say, I haven't done that in 4 months. You saw what came out of that. I don't think it was that bad for 4 months of use. These get used every single day. And like I say, to me, they are a tool. And whilst I wipe them down and keep them clean, I don't, meticulously polish them or put them away. They are left out. And to me, they're exactly what they should be, which is a tool. And there we go. There we go then. Quite an in-depth video, I think. Hopefully I've covered all the basic points and the not so basic points as well. Like I say, a couple of areas I wouldn't touch. Number one, the air valve itself, taking that out, you'll be very, very careful. Taking the components out the bottom, you've got to be very, very careful, and leave that needle seal alone unless you're having problems. And what are problems? Paint coming back through it. I have not seen an Apex do that once, ever. In the 700 we've sold and the 5 or 6 I've owned, never seen any paint come back through that needle, and I've never replaced one to this day on any of my brushes. So that's one part you should never need to do. If you are going to take it out, buy a new one, because you are going to need it. So take it out as a very, very last resort. Honestly, trust me, don't touch that. Hopefully that video has proved useful. Like I say, if you've got any comments, questions, whatever you want to know, pop them in the description down below. I'll try and answer them as we go. And like I say, we carry the full spares at umpretail.com, so you can head over there if you need anything at all. And as always, check out International Scale Model Facebook page and forum, umpretail.com, obviously. My Paul ISM Facebook page, where my personal and modern work is shared. The Off Air Hangout group and the Live at the Bench Facebook group as well. And hope you found that video useful. And I'll catch you all next time. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.